biggest mistake most people make after someone starts pulling away. They think sending just one more text will fix it. They convince themselves, if I say the right thing, maybe they'll come back. If I just remind them I care, maybe they'll remember how good we were. But let me tell you something, and I need you to hear this in your soul. The very act of chasing after someone who's not meeting you halfway is the quickest way to tell them they don't have to try anymore. That's right. Every time you hit send when they've been ignoring you, every time you start the conversation when they never do, you are silently telling them, I'll always be here. I'll keep showing up no matter how little you give me. And once somebody knows that about you, they stop valuing the privilege of having you in their life. They stop making an effort. They stop calling. They stop trying because you just taught them that your love comes with no price, no standard, and no self-respect. Now, some of you are going to say, but Steve, what if they're just busy? What if they're going through something? What if they didn't mean it? Listen, I'm not telling you to be cold-hearted. I'm telling you to be smart-hearted. There is a difference between giving someone understanding and letting someone take advantage of your understanding. People who care about you will always make sure you know it. They might not have hours to talk, but they'll take a minute to say, hey, I'm thinking about you. And if they can't even give you that, then they don't want to. You need to understand how human nature works. When something is always available, people stop working for it. You leave your favorite drink in the fridge every single day. It's not special anymore. It's just there. But let that drink run out. Now you're craving it. Now you're missing it. Now you're wishing you had appreciated it more. Same thing with you. If you're always texting, always calling, always checking in, they don't even have a chance to miss you. They don't get the space to wonder, what's she been up to? Who's she with? Does she still think about me? That's why you should never text them again. I mean it. Don't. Not because you're playing a game, but because you're reclaiming your power. Silence speaks louder than any message you could send. When you go quiet, you create a gap. And in that gap, one of two things will happen. They will either step into it and try to close the distance, or they'll stay gone. And as painful as that might be, that's your answer. No guessing, no overthinking, no begging. See, your phone can be your biggest enemy in this situation because it makes it too easy to break your own boundaries. You tell yourself, I'm not going to text him. But then late at night, when you're missing him, when you're remembering all the good times, your fingers start typing before your brain even catches up. And then you hit send. And for a brief moment, you feel relief until you realize he's either not replying or sending back some dry, one-word response that leaves you feeling worse than before. Let me give you a truth you might not like. The one who wants to talk to you will talk to you. You won't have to force it. You won't have to beg. And if they don't, then you have to love yourself enough to stop knocking on closed doors. Stop trying to force someone to see your value. You are not an option. You are not a convenience. You are a privilege, and privileges are earned, not handed out for free to someone who can't even send you a "How are you?" When you stop texting, something powerful happens. First, you give yourself back the energy you've been pouring into a one-sided connection. You start noticing how much emotional space they've been taking up without giving you anything in return. And second, you make them aware of the silence. Even if they don't admit it, they notice you've gone quiet. They remember how you used to reach out. They start wondering why you're not doing it anymore. And if they ever valued you, that thought will eat at them. But here's the twist. Going silent is not about making them chase you. That's just a side effect. The real purpose is for you to see clearly, to break the habit of constantly reaching out, constantly seeking validation from someone who doesn't give it freely. Because the more you practice not texting, the more you realize you didn't need them to make you whole in the first place. You start filling your own time, your own life, your own heart with things that make you feel alive. And suddenly, their attention, or lack of it, doesn't define you anymore. You might be scared to do this because you think, if I don't text, maybe I'll lose them forever. Let me ease your mind. If they can disappear just because you stopped chasing, they were never really yours to begin with. And wouldn't you rather know that now than waste another 6 months sending text into a black hole? Wouldn't you rather open up your life for someone who can't wait to hear from you? Someone who gets just as excited to text you as you do them. I've seen too many people, especially women, waste their prime years trying to prove their worth to someone who doesn't even see it. They keep pouring out their love, thinking if they just give enough, eventually the other person will wake up. But here's the hard truth. You can't wake someone up who's committed to sleeping on you. The only way to change the game is to remove yourself from it. Don't send that good morning text. Don't send that I miss you text. Don't send that funny meme hoping it'll make them think of you. Because if they really cared, they'd be sending you those things. They'd be finding ways to remind you that you're on their mind. Relationships, even the talking stage, should be mutual. Mutual interest, mutual effort, mutual respect. Anything else is just emotional charity. And if you really want to know what happens when you never text them again, I'll tell you, you find peace. At first, it feels uncomfortable. You keep reaching for your phone out of habit. But then you start sleeping better because you're not waiting for a reply. You start laughing more because your mood isn't tied to a message notification. You start seeing opportunities in your career, your friendships, your hobbies that you couldn't see before because you were too busy staring at your phone, waiting on someone who wasn't thinking about you. One day, maybe weeks or months later, they might text you out of the blue. And when they do, you'll realize something. You don't even want to reply because by then you'll know what you bring to the table. And you'll know that anyone who can't recognize it from the start doesn't deserve a seat at your table at all. You've been sitting there, phone in your hand, scrolling through old messages, wondering what happened. It used to be easy. They used to reach out first. They used to start the conversation. They used to care. Now it feels like you're the only one holding the line. And I know what you're thinking. If I just send one more text, maybe I can get us back to how it was. But I'm here to tell you the truth. Every time you send that one more text, you're confirming to them that you're always going to be the one doing the work. Let's get something straight. Love, interest, connection. These things don't survive on one person's effort. It's not supposed to be you carrying the whole weight. But the minute they figure out you're willing to carry it, they'll let you. And you'll keep sending those good morning texts. You'll keep sharing those songs that remind you of them. You'll keep asking, how's your day? And deep down, you'll start to feel it. That little sting of disappointment when they take hours to reply, or worse, when they send something so short you wonder if they even read what you wrote. You don't need me to tell you this is backwards. In any relationship, romantic, friendship, even family, effort is the measure of value. If they value you, they won't let you feel forgotten. They won't make you question if you matter. And if they do, that's not your cue to try harder. That's your cue to step back. Now, some of you are worried that stepping back, going quiet, will make them forget you. Let me tell you, people don't forget what they value. If they truly value you, they'll notice your silence faster than they ever noticed your words. The absence will hit them. They'll start wondering where you went. They'll scroll through their messages and realize you haven't checked in. They'll start thinking about you at night, not because you texted, but because you didn't. Silence is a language, and it's one most people aren't prepared for. When you stop texting, you give the other person a choice. Either they close the gap, or they let the distance grow. Either way, you get your answer without having to beg for it. But here's the catch. You can't use silence as a trick. You can't be sitting there, phone in hand, waiting every second for them to break the silence. This isn't about making them chase you. It's about shifting the focus back to your life, your peace, your worth. When you decide you're not texting them anymore, that's the day you start taking your power back. You stop letting your mood rise and fall with their replies. You stop putting your joy in someone else's hands. You stop living for the ding of a notification and start living for yourself again. It's a strange kind of freedom at first. You'll feel the urge to break it, to reach out, to explain yourself. But don't, because the moment you do, you tell them the silence was just a stunt, not a boundary. And let's talk about boundaries. Too many of you confuse kindness with availability. Yes, be kind. Yes, be understanding. But if kindness turns into constant availability for someone who's rarely available for you, that's not kindness anymore. That's self-neglect. You can be understanding without allowing yourself to be undervalued. Think of it this way. If you walk into a store and they're always giving away the best items for free, eventually those items stop feeling special. People stop appreciating the quality, the effort, the cost behind them. Now, make those items rare, make them earned, and suddenly people handle them with care. That's how you need to treat your time and energy. Make it something people have to earn, not something you hand out to anyone who asks. You've probably been on the other side too, where someone went quiet on you. Remember how that felt. You started wondering what happened. You replayed old conversations in your head. You thought about reaching out just to make sure everything was okay. That's the power of absence. It creates curiosity. It makes people reflect. But here's the thing. If they care, they'll act on that curiosity. They'll reach out. They'll check in. And if they don't, then they've given you your answer and you can stop wasting your time. A lot of people hold on to the fantasy of who someone could be instead of facing who they are right now. You keep texting because you're hoping to wake up the version of them that used to care. But that version doesn't exist anymore, at least not for you. And you need to stop trying to revive it. Stop writing chapters in a book they've already closed. Stop putting energy into someone who's not even showing up to the story anymore. It's going to be uncomfortable at first. You're used to the little dopamine hit you get when they reply. You're used to that quick connection, even if it's shallow. So when you stop texting, it feels like you've lost something. But give it time, and you'll see what you've actually done is create space for something real. Space for people who want to meet you in the middle. Space for relationships that feel mutual, balanced, easy. And here's the funny part. Sometimes the very moment you stop chasing is the moment they realize they miss you. You might get that late night, a stranger text. You might get a random meme from them like nothing happened. And it's in that moment you'll face a choice. Do you go back to the old pattern, or do you remember why you stopped texting in the first place? Because if they come back without real effort, without change, without consistency, all you're doing is pressing rewind on the same old movie, and you already know how it ends. You have to love yourself enough to not answer every knock at your door. Some people will come back just to see if they still have access. Some will return out of boredom, loneliness, or habit, not because they suddenly see your value. And if you fall for it, you'll find yourself right back where you started, staring at your phone, wondering why you're the only one trying again. The real victory isn't in getting them to text you first. The real victory is when you get to a place where you don't care if they text or not, where your day, your mood, your self-worth aren't tied to someone else's attention. That's when you've truly won. Because now you're living life for you, and the right people will naturally be drawn to that energy. And maybe, just maybe, one day they'll realize they lost someone who would have given them the world. They'll scroll back through your old texts, see how much you cared, and wonder why they didn't appreciate it. But by then, it won't matter, because you'll be too busy living a life that doesn't revolve around getting messages from someone who couldn't see your worth the first time. You've been telling yourself that maybe they're just busy, that maybe they didn't see your message. That maybe, just maybe, if you send one more text, they'll remember how good you were together. But let me be real with you. That one more text is what's keeping you stuck in a cycle where you give everything and they give almost nothing. You think you're holding on to a connection, but in reality, you're holding on to hope for a version of them that doesn't even exist anymore. When somebody is truly invested, you don't have to remind them to talk to you. You don't have to chase them down for their attention. They'll make it a priority because you matter to them. But the moment you realize you're the only one starting conversations, you've got to pay attention. That's not a small thing. That's a loud message saying, I'm not willing to match your effort. You know what texting them again does? It tells them they don't have to change. It tells them they can keep doing the bare minimum and you'll still be there. It tells them that you're okay with crumbs when you deserve the whole meal. And when someone gets used to giving you crumbs, they'll never offer you the feast you deserve. Now I know what you're thinking. But Steve, I don't want to lose them. Listen to me. If silence makes you lose them, they were already gone. If they can disappear just because you stopped chasing, they were never really yours in the first place. You don't lose people who want to be in your life. You only lose people who were using your presence as convenience. It's human nature. People notice absence more than they appreciate presence. When you're always there, always reachable, always texting, they get used to it. They stop wondering about you because they already know you'll show up. But when you go quiet, when you take your energy back, you create a gap, and that gap either wakes them up or confirms that they're fine without you. Either way, you get your answer. The truth is, you've been giving them VIP treatment while they've been giving you general admission access. You clear your schedule for them, you think about what to say, you put effort into keeping the conversation alive, and they can't even send a simple, "How are you?" That's not love. That's not even respect. That's convenience. And you've got to stop letting people treat you like an option when you've been treating them like a priority. I've seen people waste years of their life texting someone who barely responded, convincing themselves that, "At least they didn't block me," means something. It doesn't. Barely keeping you around isn't the same as wanting you. You've got to stop measuring your value by someone's inconsistent attention, because attention isn't love. Effort is. When you decide to never text them again, you're not just cutting off a conversation. You're cutting off the habit of putting yourself last. You're telling yourself, "I deserve someone who meets me halfway." You're reclaiming the time you've been spending staring at your phone, wondering when they'll reply. And you're giving yourself space to notice the people who actually show up for you without being asked. I get it, going silent feels unnatural at first. You're so used to checking in, to keeping that little thread between you alive. You're afraid that if you let go of it, the whole thing will unravel. But here's what you don't realize: if the only thing holding that connection together is you pulling on it, it's already unraveling. You're just the last one holding on. Think about the last time you got a text from someone you haven't heard from in a while. Didn't it make you wonder what they'd been doing? Didn't you think about them more than usual? That's what your silence does. It plants questions in their mind. But here's the important part. Don't wait by your phone expecting them to act on it. Some people will miss you but never come back for you. And that's okay, because you're not meant to be in everyone's story forever. I've seen people break their own hearts over and over by going back to someone who only notices them when they're gone. It's like clockwork. You stop texting, they reach out, you get hopeful, and then within weeks you're back to being the only one putting in effort. You have to break that cycle. The next time they show up after you've gone silent, ask yourself, are they here because they truly want me, or because they're bored and lonely? Because there's a big difference between someone missing you and someone missing your attention. This is why your silence has to be about you, not them. You have to make it your turning point. Instead of texting them, call your friends. Instead of checking your phone, read a book, take a walk, start a project. Fill the spaces they used to occupy with things that make you happy. And slowly, you'll find that you don't crave their reply anymore. You don't sit there overthinking why they haven't reached out. You stop romanticizing what was and start building what will be. And here's the thing nobody tells you. The moment you no longer need them to text you back is the moment you start attracting the right kind of people. Because people can feel when you're chasing. They can sense when you're desperate for their attention. But when you're whole, when you're happy, when you've got your own life going, you stop attracting half-hearted connections. You start attracting people who are drawn to your energy, not your effort to keep them. So no, don't text them again. Not because you're playing games, not because you want to teach them a lesson, but because you deserve more than one-sided conversations and empty words. You deserve someone who can't wait to talk to you, who texts you first because they're thinking about you, not because you reminded them to. And maybe months from now, they'll scroll back through your messages, see how much you cared, and feel the weight of losing you. They might even reach out. But by then, you'll have learned the most important lesson, that the real win isn't getting them back. The real win is realizing you never needed them to begin with. I know you keep telling yourself, it's harmless. It's just one text. But every time you break that silence, you're not just sending a message, you're sending a signal. And the signal is this: you can treat me however you want, and I'll still show up. That's the part you don't want to admit, but it's the truth. Because when someone has already shown you that they're not matching your energy, and you still go out of your way to reach out, you're reinforcing the idea that they don't have to try.